let's move on now to Houston depth chart. We picked three teams who we feel wouldn't really make too much changes anymore. At least some of the guys here are pretty much set. Houston traded Christian Wood, so that opens up a bit of some interesting positions. I know the center is the most enticing here, but this Houston team has a lot of good potential fantasy producers with KPJ, Jalen Green, right, and Alperen Sengun.
Yes, it's hard to find who you think will be the best fantasy option here. That is not like OKC; it's really SGA. In Houston, it's up for grabs. Will you take Sengun over Jalen Green? I think it's between the two of them. It's been between the two of them. Who do you think is the fantasy star here? Is it Green or Sengun for you?
I'll probably say it's gonna be Green this year. Maybe later this season, Sengun shows a little bit more, but yeah, Sengun will probably be drafted higher though.
Yes, I can see that. I can see Sengun. Well, maybe not in the Philippines because it's Jalen Green. So maybe Jalen Green gets picked higher here in the Philippines. But overall, it could be Sengun. But it will be close. They will be very near. My prediction is they're gonna be just in the same round, Sengun and Green. Who will finish higher? I think it's Sengun for now. I think it's Sengun. We saw what he can do last year. There's nobody else here unless they suddenly start Willie Cauley-Stein or anybody over him or timeshare between Boban.
Crazy, and this will drive the fantasy managers crazy if they decide to start Willie Cauley-Stein or Garuba or Boban over Sengun. For sure, Sengun would be one of the guys. Now that Holmgren is out, I think this is the next guy that many would really be hyped about. Sengun. He was so hyped last season. I think he disappointed a lot as well. Now
not his fault though. Not his fault.
Well, not his fault, but still, it's not his fault. But still, I mean, he was drafted. He was kept a little too long by a lot of managers.
Yeah, because he did. It's like this. Before the season, people were hyping him. A lot of us were really knew what he could do because he already was 18 or 19 but playing Turkish League MVP and everything. So we know what he can do and the passes, and he's an exciting player to watch. So that is hard. That's why it's hard to let go of someone who has high potential. And then that in reality, in the real basketball sense, the team doesn't want to rush him. They wanted to play it slowly. That was the problem last year.
Yeah.
So this year I think he's gonna be more prepared, more ready. So I think he can go 70s, he can go 80s, can go that high. Especially if they announce him as a starter at center. But there are this Houston team has a lot of interesting players. Jabari Smith, of course.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, how do you see Jabari Smith with Houston and in his first year?
If you read my post in the summer league and during the draft, you can sense I like him because he's a guy who really defends very well. He's a versatile defender, and with that, what he can give: steals, blocks. Right? He didn't shoot the ball well in the summer league. He was outshone by Banchero and Chet Holmgren because they had the highlight plays, they had the offensive, everything. But Jabari was solid. If the outside shot falls, I think he can fight for the number one rookie spot in fantasy. So I like Jabari. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I want some Jabari Smith this year.
No, it's gonna be easier now that Chet is out, so at least Jabari and Banchero would have more attention when it comes to the drafts. But do you think he still gets into the top 100 or maybe 120?
I don't see him getting to the top 100. I don't. So far, I've been doing mock drafts. I don't see him getting there. I didn't see him there. At least I see Banquero. I see Chet, but I don't see him now that Chet is out. Maybe because there are managers who are targeting rookies. There are managers who love rookies. Now that Chet is out, oh well, outside of Banquero, it's Jabari, right? He's the next
Yeah.
guy. So I can see him get to the top 100 eventually as a season. If your draft is near the start of the season, I think that was possible. I think that is possible. But 120 definitely, he's in the top 120 for sure. For sure, he should not fall beyond that. That's already a steal for me,
All right.
Jabari.
Any other guy here that you think would surprise us?
Tari Eason. Tari Eason, small forward. And well, it's another rookie. I said Jalen Williams, but Tari Eason, he played in that Seattle Pro-Am. In Summer League, he was so good. He was one of the top rookies, top performers, not even top rookie, one of the top performers in the Summer League. If you follow his college career, he's an all-around guy. He can just play. He just knows how to play. And I won't be surprised if, middle of the season, Joy Sean Tate loses his starting position and Tari Eason becomes a starter. Especially if they're already tanking. So he's a sleeper guy for me here. Outside of that, I'm gonna go back to Jalen Green. I see the progression in Jalen Green. He played well late last year, so I'm hoping for an Anthony Edwards leap for him. The way Anthony Edwards improved further in the sophomore season, so I think Jalen Green is another guy that we can target, and we can target aggressively this year.
Yeah. Many expected him to pull off in Anthony Edwards type of season towards the end, but he
Well,
came close, a little close. He
came close.
came close
Yeah.
to it. So that was good. He did start off well. So maybe, sophomores, like we said before, the progression from a rookie to a sophomore usually are really huge when it comes to the development because they've had 1 year under their belt. So these players like Jalen Green, Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley, these guys, Cade, will definitely, there will be lots of improvement to their game for sure.
My question for you is KPJ. How do you see KPJ?
Not a
Another of
fan.
our favorite. Another of our favorites here. Do you see any change, improvement, or whatever this year from what he is the past few years?
I'm a safe. I'm a risk averse type of player manager when it comes to drafting players, and KPJ is not one of those players that you draft and without understanding the risk. Right, the risks are high. Last year, even with some good games, managers were willing to drop him. He was actually what we call the deal breaker in trades, right?
Yeah.
Some managers offered him in a package just to ship him out, just to get rid of him. And sometimes he becomes the deal breaker, wherein the other manager would not want to take the deal because KPJ was added. So
Inefficiency. Because of the inefficiency.
yeah, because of the field goal, right? The turnovers. Even if you're like punting some of these stats, it's painful to watch the field goal and the turnovers in particular. So
I see improvement though. Maybe he's being how do I say it? There's some bias already because of, but he really, I agree with you. He was really hard to own, but he's young, and at the end of the season, we have to agree that there were some improvements. He had some good games. The turnovers a little bit manageable, but if you're in an 8-cat league, that you disregard turnovers, I think KPJ is someone that value shoots up. So especially if you look at the competition at point guard, I mean, all of these backups are either sophomores, rookies,
yeah,
or in spins. So he has no competition. So if you're in an 8-cat league, he's gonna be more of a no-brainer, later in the draft if he falls. But in the 9-cat, it's tough. It's really tough.
we always say you can pair him up with maybe Russell Westbrook. right? I mean, that was the strategy. If you had Russell Westbrook, maybe you could pair him up there, or maybe a Yan,
Um,
uh, or maybe pair him up with someone who shoots a little better when it comes to the field goal. So at least he
I
doesn't.
do think if you have a very guard heavy first few picks, KPJ is solid late in your drafts. Let's say you started with Trey and you added some more turnover heavy guards. I think KPJ will be more appealing and just punt turnovers at that point. So it depends on the strategy, but just don't disregard him just because it's KPJ. That's just my point. I think being a young player compared to Russell Westbrook, there could be improvements in his game, KPJ.